Well, welcome in to the My Dogs Are Barking podcast. We this week are going to recap Mississippi State and LSU briefly before looking at a preview of South Carolina, Mississippi State this Saturday. Can the Bulldogs recap, get their first SEC win, or will they drop 2 games in a row? We will find out. And today we're going to preview it on My Dogs Are Barking podcast.
God, I'm telling you, my dogs are barking today.
But man, my dogs are barking.
Well, there are games that you just simply throw away the results and start over again. Games where from the get-go, it just doesn't feel like it's going your way. And this past Saturday was one of those games for Mississippi State. From the very jump, the Bulldogs did not look good, and LSU looked fantastic. We're just reading over just a few stats. LSU almost doubled Mississippi State's time of possession in the game. They had the ball for 38 minutes and 39 seconds. Mississippi State had it for 21-21, and that was visible. I mean, they were at, I think Mississippi State's offense was at 12 yards total midway through the second quarter. I mean, there was just three and out after three and out after three and out. There was no turnovers. It wasn't as if Mississippi State was giving the ball up. Didn't have a ton of penalties, but they were absolutely ineffective through the air. On the ground, Woody Marks couldn't get going in some respects, but honestly, he had 8 rushes, and he turned those 8 rushes into 75 yards. And so he did, I thought he played a decent game. Really, the biggest part of this is Will Rogers. And Will is, I think, deservedly so, getting some flack for his play, because we remember a week ago, all Mississippi State fans and honestly beat writers were saying Mississippi State has got to throw the ball more. Got to throw the ball more. Will's so efficient. Got to throw the ball more. And in this game, the fans got to see Will throw the ball. And he simply missed open receivers, missed opportunities all over the field. Will was really bad. He got to 103 yards finally, but I mean he was under 100 yards for almost the entire game. Mississippi State's defense also just looked awful. Through the air, they gave up 367 yards. Malik Neighbors, ouch, right? Former Mississippi State commit. Malik Neighbors looked unbelievable. I think he had 240 yards receiving. They gave up 163 yards on the ground, and so overall, 530 yards given up by Mississippi State's defense. The problem is they were on the field so much because the offense couldn't get going. Again, 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out. Something we do have to remember before people lose their mind and want to say get Will Arnett out of Will Arnett. I cannot stop saying Will Arnett. Zach Arnett. Goodness. Before we complain and say let's get Zach Arnett out of here, let's remember LSU is a top 10 team. They lost their opening game, but they lost their opening game to another top 10 team. And actually this one, I think that Florida State's a top 5 team. The question is, this Saturday, can Mississippi State rebound? And we're going to go over that game against South Carolina. Throw away LSU game. It was bad. In terms of a game in Davis-Wade Stadium, I've been there for losses. I've never been in a loss like that. It just, where it seemed, it was so bad. It was so bad. And so we go on to this week and look at South Carolina, Mississippi State. South Carolina opened as a 3.5-point favorite. It is now up to 6 points. I think they're almost a touchdown favorite over Mississippi State. While South Carolina is 1-2 and 0-1 in the SEC, the very first game they played was against North Carolina. Very good offense. Drake May, top 10 draft pick this year, certainly. And the second game was against Georgia. And so, and they hung out in that game. Spencer Rattler looked good early before kind of trailing off late. Georgia came back. South Carolina, led, of course, by Spencer Rattler. Rattler's thrown for 954 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Running the ball, DeCarrion Joyner has 28 attempts for only 75 yards. They have not run the ball effectively thus far. I mean, they're averaging as a team, they're averaging 1.8 yards per rush. Great talent at wide receiver and some other positions there. But in terms of running the ball, not effective at all thus far. Spencer Rattler's been good, 71% completion percentage. Like I said, 2 interceptions. He kind of throws them into the game or throws them out. But I'll tell you this: if he can get the ball down the field a little bit, Mississippi State's in trouble, because something I think we saw on Saturday is Mississippi State has almost no pass rush, which for Mississippi State is a very odd thing. Always known as a great defensive team, able to get some pressure. It's just not there. It's simply not there. So, how will they look this week? Well, Mississippi State overall, offensively, is ranked 97th in the nation out of, I think, 130 teams. They defensively rank 102nd overall. They're better at defending the run than they are the pass. Defending the pass, they're 117th in the nation out of 130 teams. Secondary is bad. Has just not played well. And we knew that was a question going forward. Will the Bulldogs be able to pull this one off? Now, if you remember going back to my early kind of predictions for this game, this is a game I said Mississippi State, if they're going to lose one of those games that was kind of on the edge between Kentucky and Auburn and those kind of teams, I think this is it. But I did say that I thought they would win before the season started, and that's because I thought the defense would play a little bit better. I don't have a good feeling about it. Mississippi State at South Carolina, 6:30 kickoff. South Carolina's looking to get back on the horse, and I know they'll be excited. They'll be pumped for the opportunity. Mississippi State might have some trouble. They got to figure out what's going on in the passing game. They got to figure out, ultimately where they're going to go from here. It is possible, based just on how bad that play was, that this is a season that jeopardizes the amount of bowl games that Mississippi State has won in a row, going back all the way, or gone to rather, since 2010. And I'm nervous as a fan, but this is also a great opportunity for Will Rogers to get back into it, because South Carolina defensively is really bad. In terms of just some numbers here, South Carolina's defense, this is a credit to Brad Crawford from 24/7 Sports. South Carolina allows the most yards per game in the SEC. They're dead last with 406 yards. They allow the second most points per game on defense. They allow they allow 25.3 points a game. Allow most first downs allowed in the SEC. 12th in the SEC on opponents on third down percentage. So they don't really don't get off the field. The least tackles for loss in the conference. Second least, or they allow the second most rushing yards per game. So this is the reason I say that. Mississippi State has an opportunity to go up against a team that really is inadequate on defense and show that they can play some offense. If Mississippi State cannot, it's going to be a long season. If they can find a way to play well versus this defense, I think you get a little bit of momentum going. Because don't forget, after this week, Mississippi State is playing the team from Tuscaloosa. And they're going to be a motivated Nick Saban team. I know that they didn't look as good, but they've already announced Jalen Milroe as a starter. It can all go downhill pretty quick, but it can also be salvaged with a good offensive showing here, some camaraderie on defense, getting some momentum going into the Alabama game. Then you can kind of save the rest of your season. At the given moment, it's not looking very encouraging. So I'm excited to take a look at this game. I think this is a close game. I think Mississippi State should win on the surface. But man, they have not looked good. And so because of that, I'm going to say that South Carolina wins this game 24-21 over the Bulldogs. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this game, on kind of the outlook of the season so far, and where you think this team is going. Because there's a lot of season left. A lot of good things can happen. From the flip side, a lot of negative things can happen as well. So I'm excited to see what goes on. But thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Give me your thoughts in the comments. And hey, Hail State. Thanks for watching My Dogs Are Barking.